Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome to the Early Edge. We are Eric Berry days away from NFL season. Thank you, Matt, for pointing that out. We're Eric Dickerson days away. I see Eric David in the chat. It's an Eric kind of day. Hit the like button. Hello, Mark Buckholz, Brad Morris, Brian Smith, Liddy, Big Cheesy, D Johnson, Brandon Silva. Thanks for being in here. Thanks for being a part of this. Let's see what we did yesterday before we bring in the stars of the show. USA, that's a tricky one. It went into extra time, so at most books, technically that's a loss, so that's how we've counted it. My Orioles first five, it's kind of a push. It ended up being a push, but of course, Grayson Rodriguez was scratched right before that start. So 2-4, not exactly where we want to be, but we're coming off some winning days, so we can afford a losing day here and there. But let's pick it up a little bit. Let's bring in the stars of the show. It's Wednesday, so you know we got the guru Martin Green to talk soccer. We know we've got the sniper who again has been hot, and then Amags as well, who was just dishing out picks everywhere. Saturdays on his show, on Twitter, on this show. There's so much going on with Amags as well. Amags, I'm going to start with you. How you doing today, and how you feeling about your baseball picks?
Doing well. And as you mentioned, Sia, last night I actually got to hop on CBS Sports HQ as well and give out some picks. So that was a good time. And hey, we cashed a bet there from the Maestro on Corey Seager with that late breakup of the Framber Valdez no-hitter. So,
oh yeah, I was watching that too. I felt really bad. Sniper, what was your state of emotion? I mean, it's not that you're a Framber Valdez fan necessarily, but like I always hate when, and in the chat, you know, you make your comments on this too. I always hate, no matter what, if I'm rooting for the team or not, they're like 1 or 2 outs away and the no-hitter gets broken up. And that got broken up in such a, dramatic fashion, really. I mean, that thing was gone the moment it came off the bat.
Well, he's had one before, so it's not quite as much of a gut punch. But funny story, I was actually on shift for writing, so I had to write about the no-hitter, and I was ready to go on HQ. So I was sitting here with a shirt and tie and coat as I was typing out the post, and I was ready to go. And then they hit the home run. It's like, okay, never mind on the HQ hit now. So I had to do a lot more than most people where you might be just watching it. But anyway, happy Raymont Harris days away from the NFL season.
Very, very nice. I'm sad that wasn't a Chicago Bear Eric. But Martin Green, let me ask you this, because there are some people who took USA yesterday. Can you just clarify, because they won the game, but they won it in extra time. So how would they have had to have bet USA to not be subjected to a loss in extra time? Like, is there a way to do that?
Yeah, if you bet on the three-way money line, it's normally graded at the end of 90 minutes, at the end of regulation time. So a bet on the tie would have paid off, and a bet on the USA to win would have been unsuccessful. You could have bet on the to qualify market if you wanted to include the prospect of extra time and penalties, which will pay out regardless of how they get through. So to qualify would be the one, or if it's in the final, you can bet on the to lift the trophy market. Some sportsbooks do pay out if the team wins in extra time, but most don't. So you can check the rules and regulations for your sportsbook to make sure. But yeah, they just didn't get the job done in 90 minutes yesterday, which was really annoying.
Before we get to your picks, Martin Green, your official soccer picks, I do want to point out, speaking of checking things, always check the chat, because I don't know if you all noticed, some of you who are new to the show, perhaps you haven't noticed, we've got some legit cappers, not just on this show, but in the chat as well. Bradley Jacobs always bringing it with his own soccer picks. We got Moshi bringing it in here. Brian Greben's bringing it in here with some player props, some first fives, any type of baseball bet you want. A lot of these guys and girls in the chat are cashing some tickets right there, not just on this show on camera. So pay attention to that. We've got cappers everywhere here. All right, Martin, I'm going right back to you. I want to talk soccer. You've got 2 soccer plays for us today.
Thank you very much, Sia. Yeah, it's getting exciting now. The Champions League qualifying is heating up, and big soccer leagues are starting again this weekend, including the Championship and Bundesliga 2. So we're about to start the new season, and we're currently in the 3rd round of Champions League qualifying. And Slovakian champions Slovan Bratislava will have home advantage for the first leg of their clash with Cypriot champions Apoel Nicosia today. They're priced at plus 120 to win this game. I think that looks like an attractive set of odds. They picked up a 4-2 home win against Struga in the first round. They thumped Celje, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, 5-0 at home in the second round, so they have a great home record. They've won both of their league matches so far this season, unbeaten in 6 games in all competitions since the campaign began. I think they should be just a bit too strong for Apoel, who only barely scraped past Moldovan Minnows Petro Club in the last round. So plus 120 looks like a good set of odds to me. If you want to play it a bit more cautiously, go for Slovan Bratislava, draw, no bet. But I'm backing them on the money line at plus 120. And looking ahead to the weekend, we have a really big game. The Community Shield takes place, and it features Premier League champions Manchester City against FA Cup winners Manchester United at Wembley. Promises to be a really entertaining game between these local rivals. Both teams to score and over 2.5 goals has paid off in 6 of the last 7 meetings between these teams, including Man United's 2-1 victory over Man City in the FA Cup final back in May. Man City often make a slow start to the season. They often concede goals in the early weeks of the campaign. They're always dangerous in attack, with Erling Haaland leading the line. So I think both teams to score looks appealing in this one. I'm throwing in over 2.5 goals as well, just to get a bit more value at minus 120.
All right. I like both of the plays there. Love the analysis. Hey, Mags, I'm going to throw you a curveball real quick because there's a question in the chat that I want to get to. A curveball for Scooball. Thoughts on Scooball over 7.5 Ks, asks Jason Pogwist. Any thoughts there?
So I actually think that this ties in nicely with a play that Sniper is going to give out a little bit later. So if you wanted me to, I could touch on it then, but I will say strikeouts, I do like the over.
It was, but the only thing was, it was heavily juiced when I looked. It was something like minus 185 or something. So that's why I looked elsewhere. But
interesting.
Again, I'll talk about that when it gets to me. All
right, nice tease. I love that. Legit capper is going on my profile, says Moshe Stern. It deserves to go on your profile. We had another one from Big Cheesy, another pick. It was Houston, Texas over 8.5. Very interesting. If you want to take any of those picks or any of the picks you hear on this show, go to BetMGM. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500. I'm going to say that again. $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10 and you will receive up to $1,500 instantly if your bet loses with bonus code EDGE. That's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. All right. Amags, we got to get to your pick. Sniper, we got to get to your picks. We got to get to my pick. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners. We're back on the Early Edge presented by BetMGM. Hey, Mags, I could have sworn you were on here on Monday. I think you also went 2-0 on Monday, if memory serves. And the first pick you had was a guy that I just truly love to watch. I was singing his praises, and then literally in his first at bat, he cashed a ticket for all of us, including, it was your ticket, but he cashed a ticket for all of us in pretty dramatic fashion himself. So you're going right back to this dude, but you've got 2 picks to talk to us about.
I am going right back to our dude, Elly De La Cruz, and I'm going to go over 1.5 hit run RBI at minus 135. It's only about 5 cents off of where it was last night. Yeah, it's about 15 cents off of where we got it on Monday, but I played it the last 2 days. It was my best bet on HQ last night. And truthfully, I don't see any reason to stop backing De La Cruz right now in Miami. Valente Beloso, there's not too much that I could say in terms of what he's done at the MLB level. He actually hasn't been too bad. Even in the minors, AAA, AA, some numbers down there, like, hasn't been that bad. But at the same time, I think that De La Cruz is just on such a tear. I mean, 8 hits over these last 2 games. He's got 4 doubles, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. The guy does it with his legs when he gets on base. He's in scoring position at first base, but he almost always gets himself into scoring position at second. So just with everything that he does for this team, I think getting 1.5 still at a playable price it's just a good spot for us. So I'm going to keep playing it. And Belozo doesn't go that deep. So even if it doesn't happen against him, I think that it could definitely happen against the bullpen. Secondly, I'm going to not overthink this one as well. Last night gave out Vinny Pasquantino on HQ, and he cashed for us. I'm going to go right back to Vinny Pasquantino, same exact odds, minus 135 here. And I really like backing both of these hitters. Once again, just guys on tears. I mean, Pasquantino made it 16 of 17 games now that he's had at least one hit. He's going really well. And when you look at Cutter Crawford on the other side for the Red Sox, he's actually started to struggle against lefties specifically. And I think when you're going to take a lefty from this KC lineup, Vinny is the first one you look at. And then you kind of dive into Cutter Crawford with his name being Cutter. Well, he throws that cutter as one of his top pitches. The last 3 starts, that cutter has not been good, especially to lefties. I wrote down the numbers here, Sia. So we've got the expected weighted on base last 3 starts for the cutter, 686, 651, and 488 against lefties.
Wow. Not great, Bob. Love the analysis. Love the stats. I do want to point out, changing the subject a bit. Well, first of all, David Talk likes Cleveland game 1 money line, but Bradley Jacobs has a reminder for a Champions League matchup, but I don't know how to pronounce those names. Like some of these soccer names, like I'm going to give it a shot. Like if you watched the early wedge yesterday, we had some fun facts. We had some things we had to pronounce that didn't go super well, but I'm going to go with Jagiellonia Bialystok versus Bodo Glimt. Both teams to score over 2.5. Parlay minus 125. Martin Green, do you have any insight on that pick or my pronunciation?
Yeah, your pronunciation seems pretty good, I think, Sia. Yes, definitely Bodo Glimt. They are a Norwegian team based inside the Arctic Circle. Freezing cold if you ever go up to play there. But they're playing on the road. They're a good team. I think they should win that game. I think they should win it. And the odds do look quite attractive. Yeah. It's Bialystok. I'm not going to try and pronounce the first part of that though. I think you know.
I think that's a setup from Bradley, just like Buckets was setting me up for the White Sox yesterday. Real quick note: early wedge is already in your feed, but I do want to point out on CBS Sports Network today, I don't know if you noticed how much Amags was flexing about being on CBS Sports HQ, like flex after flex after flex. Well, I'm going to flex right now because me and the crew are going to be on CBS Sports Network today, not at 2 o'clock, but at 1 o'clock. Again, get in front of your TV or tablet, turn it to CBS Sports Network. We're going to be covering a lot, including NFL, Major League Baseball best bets. We're going to cover the Wyndham Championship. We got our SportsLine model picks, soccer picks. We got a lot coming up on that 1 o'clock show, so you're not going to want to miss it. And speaking of the Wyndham, I'm just going to go to my pick, and I'll make it relatively quick. Sungjae Im, head-to-head matchup, round 1. This starts tomorrow morning, allegedly, because we don't know what's going on with this weather. That weather issue does factor into my pick a little bit. Sungjae Im, minus 135 over Cameron Young. Sungjae Im is the favorite for this tournament. He's not somebody I bet because I don't want to bet him 12 or 14 to 1. It's too short for me. If you watch the early wedge, you got all my picks. There's some really high confidence picks for me. But with all that said, Cam Young is a guy that I really don't trust with the putter. The ball striking is definitely there. He's just very inconsistent, sometimes inconsistent with the around the green play, but usually bad with the putter. I don't even want to say inconsistent with the putter. He's usually bad. It hasn't been quite as bad lately. The ball striking is there for both of these guys, but it's the short game where I really trust Sungjae Im. And by the way, Cam Young doesn't have experience at Sedgefield, whereas Sungjae Im not only has experience, but has probably the most elite, him and probably Billy Horschel and Webb Simpson have the most elite experience here over anybody in the field. With the weather being an issue, I don't know that they're going to play Thursday. It's possible this thing gets delayed an entire day. I'm really not sure. But either way, if the weather conditions are rough, I trust Sungjae Im, especially with his history and his short game on this course versus a Cameron Young. I think Cameron Young could be boom or bust. He could win this tournament. He could miss the cut. Sungjae Im, a much more steady type of player, and that's what I'm looking for, not just in a tournament matchup, but in a round 1 head-to-head matchup. Love the experience. Love how he's playing. Give me Sungjae minus 135, round 1 over Cam Young. All right, that's a golf play. We got soccer plays out of the way. We got some MLB plays out of the way. We got some chat plays that I want to catch up on. And Sniper, you've got 2 more plays for us, and one of them does include Scooble, who one of the chat members was asking you about.
Yeah, but we're going to start with sticking with the hot hand, much like Amags did. I'm going to continue to go with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We hit with it last night, and it wasn't even one of his best games. This should be over 2.5, but it's still over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, which is why we have to pay the big juice here. But it's going to be worth it. I mean, it's Trevor Rogers on the mound for the Orioles. He was pitching better than his FIP suggested he should be when he was on the Marlins. He got knocked around in his first start for the Orioles. Vlad against lefties this year is hitting .338 with a .662 slugging percentage. At home, he's hitting .340 with a .557 slugging. In the second half, he's hitting .492 with a 1,033 slugging percentage. He's all kinds of on fire. Great play right here. And again, last night he hadn't done anything until his third time up. Then he singled, came around to score. We hit easily on that one. Also, as Sia mentioned, Terry Skubal, I'm going to go on the over 18.5 outs. The first thing I went to look for was strikeouts because the Mariners are the most strikeout heavy team in all of baseball. But I would have to go back and look, but the minus was so high on it. It was minus 185, maybe something like that, that I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do that, but I do trust him to get into the 7th inning, and it's over 18.5 outs. And I'm going to make up for the Vlad juice here because this is plus 155 here. Seems like way too high here on the plus side. The Mariners offense is bad. I know they hit a few times after the trade deadline, but Arozarena and Turner don't make their offense that much better. They got shut out on Sunday. Yes, I know it was against Zach Wheeler and he's an ace, but so is Skubal. And yesterday they faced Kyler Montero. He's not an ace and they only made 2 runs. So I really like Skubal here. He wasn't that good last time out, but he still got 19 outs. He will be good this time. He's been over 18.5 in all 3 of his post-All-Star game starts. He's been over this 12 of his 22 overall, but in 6 of the 10 times that he fell short, it was in April and May. So I think we're good to go here on him getting at least 1 out in the 7th. Also, Sean in the chat asked about the Reds on the run line minus 1.5. That was another play that I was strongly looking at. I just couldn't find as much information about the Marlins starting pitcher, and that's why I stayed away. But I still actually might end up playing it. I just didn't have time to dig in enough before the show.
Okay, I've got one for you, and then Amags, I'm going to bounce this one off of you. I don't ever come to the show with parlays. It's just kind of a conscious betting responsible decision. That doesn't mean I don't do parlays on the side or money line parlays. I do think there's value in like a 2-game money line parlay, for example, in the NFL or in MLB or soccer. With that said, Steve Folkerts asks a question about a money line parlay, but I want to ask about my own. So Sniper, I'm going to start with you. Steve Folkerts asks Oakland Cincinnati money line parlay plus 169. I mean, first of all, I do love that number, but the parlay I wanted to go with, and I want to start with mine because I was almost like going to be like on this show, hey, let's do a community parlay here, but I need to get your blessing. How about the A's with Estes on the mound? I do like the A's in any sort of money line parlay with Luis Gil and the Yankees, full game both. That's going to pay even money. So Yankees, A's money line parlay with Fulmer on the mound for the Angels. I don't expect much from him, even though he's been okay, but it's been against some bad teams. Sniper, I'm going to start with you. If I'm getting even money on Yankees, A's, is that a go, or let's just stay away from the parlay guy?
No, I think that's okay. My only concern there would be in the midst of the White Sox losing streak, it probably has to get harder to win as you go because now they're getting worried about making history with losing too many games in a row. Now that they won one, the monkey's off their back, but they're still a terrible team, and the A's are better, and the A's are at home. They're better at home than the road. The White Sox are worse on the road. So, yeah, and obviously Gil against the Angels, that should be good to go. So, yeah, I'm down with that.
Hey, Max, your thoughts. You can very quickly dismiss my parlay if you want.
I don't dislike the parlay. I have interest in playing Aaron Judge on the hit run RBI for the first game. It was minus 135 when I played it earlier. It's probably around the same. So I don't mind backing the Yankees. I think Gil maybe worries me a little bit because you're definitely going to start seeing his pitch counts be like 85, like 90 max. Like you're definitely going to start seeing that. I just don't always love like something like that maybe on a doubleheader where you're going to
real quick, and forgive me, because you're right about the doubleheader. Luis Gil's actually, it looks like he's facing Davis Daniel Fulmers in the night outing. So I misspoke there. But either way, Luis Gil, a pretty big favorite. That's minus 310 on the money line. All right. So, I mean, I should have probably pointed out that the Yankees play 2 games. There's 2 doubleheaders today. Martin, quick question for you from David Talk. He says, Martin, Spain or Germany? And he says, I like Spain money line or under 2.5. Any thoughts?
I also like Spain money line. I'm a bit surprised that they actually lost to Brazil in the semi-finals. That was a real shock result. I think they should get the consolation prize of a bronze medal. They look superior to Germany, so I do like Spain to win that game. I will say that third place playoffs, bronze medal matches are often a bit of an anticlimax, and you can get some strange results. So I won't go too crazy with the amount that I wager on it, but I do think that Spain should win.
All right. Liddy says Sniper with the plus 155 play. Absolutely love it. Amags, go ahead.
Hey, just real quick, there was a couple questions in the chat about a few plays today. I do like Joe Ryan to go over his strikeouts at 6.5 there. We had a question. It's near even money. So I like that price. And then we also had Michael King. I put over 5.5 strikeouts out on the SportsLine website early. It's that number's moved to 6.5 now, but I actually think he could have a pretty good day with the strikeouts there. 6.5 plus money. I don't think that's a bad spot. And then catch me on Saturday. Come join us on Saturdays. We will talk all things MLB on my Twitter there on the Spaces. And I think this week we're linking up with the SportsLine account for that one.
Ooh, that is fantastic. If you want to get into the mind of Amags in terms of how he and people like Sniper consider these picks and the mental processes they go through to come to a conclusion on making a pick, I strongly encourage you to listen to that show. I know a lot of people in the chat are making their own picks. And I think a lot of that, Amags, derives from listening to you and kind of understanding like how to go about it in a responsible, meticulous way. So I love that you're doing that. I love you're doing it with the SportsLine account. By the way, you're going to want to follow the SportsLine account, not just to catch an Amags Twitter space on a Saturday morning, but also because my first round leaders are probably going to be tweeted out later today from the SportsLine account. I had to wait because with all these weather issues, I didn't feel comfortable putting them out Tuesday night, last night on the early wedge. So I'm going to wait probably until tonight, and definitely it'll probably be on my account too, in all candor, but it's probably going to be initially tweeted out by the SportsLine account. So make sure you're following them and make sure you're subscribed to this channel and make sure you're always hitting the like button if you can. Let's take a look at the recap screen. I've got a play for tomorrow morning. This assumes the Wyndham Championship actually starts on time. It's possible it gets delayed into Friday. We'll see. Sung J M minus 135 over Cam Young. That's a round 1 matchup. Martin Green, Slovan Bratislava, money line plus 120, and Man City, Man United, both teams to score plus the over 2.5 at minus 120. Sniper, Vlad Guerrero, we're going back to him. Over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs at minus 150. And Scooble over 18.5 outs at plus 155. Amags, Ellie De La Cruz, we're going back to him too. 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. We're taking the over there at minus 135. And Vinny Pascantino over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs at minus 135. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a great show. We also had picks from all of you in the chat, Japan and Big Cheesy and Bradley Jacobs and David Talk. You name it. You've been making the picks. We absolutely appreciate it. And we're going to see you later today on CBS Sports Network to talk a lot of this and much more. Again, CBS Sports Network today at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got a lot to talk about, including some NFL. I noticed in the chat there were some NFL futures, some Eagles fans in the chat. Maybe we'll be talking about the Eagles later today as well. Until then, folks, have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you at 1. We'll see you all over SportsLine. Make sure you're subscribed and to this account, but also to the Twitter account so you can see some of these picks coming out later tonight. We'll see you on the next one on the Early Edge. On behalf of Amags, the Sniper, Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s, and of course, the Guru. I'm the Counselor of Cash. This is the Early Edge. We rest our case.